Hello, this is Daniel Vaya. Welcome to the Becoming Asher Daniel. Um, I'm gonna. I don't know why I put this besides the fact that I thought it sounded good, but this is called Becoming Asher Daniel's Gazette Pod. So I was trying to put two podcasts together as far as the names go, and on Peacock, I don't know if this is just for this year or if it's been this way for the past few years, they started adding clips from WWE telecasts to promote the road to WrestleMania this year. And before I even saw it, I knew this was going to happen. Before I even saw the picture of this video, I could see by the way they were building to Bianca Belair um and Io Sky from the week before. I could see that since they're having a contract signing, I said that'd be the perfect time for them to do like what they did with Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels back in 2004, when Shawn Michaels frustratingly signed the contract, and at the end of it all, they added Shawn Michaels to the match. And that's pretty much what they did this past Monday, from my understanding of things. It's not that it's bad, it's just that people fuss about how it's not original. Even though it's with women, the fact that they did it with men about 22 years ago is why, no, 21 years ago, is why it's not is why it's not a good idea to do that. Because for people that all they do is fuss, don't give people a reason to fuss, because you're not gonna hear the end of it unless people think it's good because it's with women. So it's really hard to tell how the audience will respond to that. And as I put on on the screen here, this episode is about the third episode of Mid Atlantic that the WWE has uploaded on their Mid Atlantic Peacock section of their WWE network on Peacock, excuse me. Spoke about the 12th and 19th of September, the 12th and 19th and the 26th and the 19th, excuse me, of September. So the grappler, by the way, I have his mask autographed in my room somewhere. He was a he was one of the big it's one of the big time draws here in Louisiana for Mid South. As a matter of fact, when me and Dad saw him in person a couple of years ago, I believe the person who was considered the host or the MC of the event said that he was a mid, five-time North American champion in Mid South. And if you know about the territory days, North American was kind of was like the second ladder to the NWA title as far as territories go. So he made his appearance in the September 26, 1981 edition Mid Atlantic, and it was in a match between Jay Youngblood and Ole Anderson, who by this time is already associated with Roddy Piper and Abdullah the Butcher, so that's going to be interesting to see. And I believe they also promoted that the TV title is going to be on the line as Cowboy Ron Bass defended the title against someone. They didn't really say who it was, though. That's another example of how last night when I was doing a bonus episode on YouTube, said how, in my personal opinion, as someone who is looking to become a manager myself in wrestling, I always believed that every championship title is important to win. Now now I have scratched my head at times why instead of having Batista go from the tag team to the Intercontinental title, why couldn't they why did they go him start from the bottom and then go to the top instead of go from the bottom, middle, and top? But I got a feeling that was because of the charisma he had. You know, he was not necessarily the best wrestler. He's not necessarily the best athlete, but he could definitely tell a story. So that's why he went on to have such great success in making movies after that. Because he was a good actor. So, but anyway, because of that, I always wondered why it took them almost forever to make Edge heavyweight champion, but they have Batista go from the tag team to the top, and that I thought was unusual in itself. Because I thought if anybody deserved to take that title off of Edge instead of the title being held up, I don't even know if it was a real life injury or not. That I can't say. But they had him walk around with crutches to act as if he tore his groin. But I have to be honest, I don't know if a groin can heal within. I don't know if a torn groin can heal within a month. That's why I thought it was all part of the show. But but I did think that was odd that they just put two men who were already in a feud before this, put them against each other in a ladder match for the title. I did think that was odd. However, I do understand in business sense, looking at it as business, because the business aspect of it is it's a show. It's not about your skill set as a quote on screen, as somebody who is trying to sell yourself as a wrestler. You're not, because this is all being a salesman, wrestling. So it's not about um if you're it's not about how good you are in the ring, even though people have been saying that for years on TV. Behind the scenes, it's not about your skill. It's not always about your skill level, especially not in the WWE by the 2000s standards. It was more about who could sell the tickets. Wasn't about if the person selling the ticket had the best skill set. It was about who could sell tickets and sell stories. So, in a business sense, I understood that. But as somebody who studies it, I always thought, well, it's like and I ended up being right. If they had pulled that with Batista and he didn't have all that charisma, there's no way it would have gotten over. If he had a harder time cutting a promo, if he had a harder time selling his character to the audience, there's no way the audience would have accepted him as a world champion. Because essentially that's what they did with Roman Reigns, and the crowd refused to accept him. So when you look at it in ways like that, I can understand why they did some of the things that we may not, or some of the things I personally did not understand as a fan. As somebody who has heard stories about wrestling, the classic stories I would hear from my father about wrestling when he was growing up, and then actually watching some of the videos from when he was, I believe, a teenager at least, and even more, why he had a hard time with modern day wrestling. But anyway, I didn't want to digress. I just wanted to make a point there. So I wanted to go back to using my regular. I've always been like, okay, I need to use a regular formula or format, excuse me, format for this podcast, and it's been talking about games, and I thought I'd do something I haven't spoken about yet, and that's college sports. I want to talk about college basketball because we're in the beginning of March Madness, and I'd always heard of the Tennessee Volunteers ever since I heard that is to be where Big Daddy Cool Diesel, aka Kevin Nash, went to college and played basketball there. So I wanted to see how they played. Man, I got to admit, the first half they did a great job going against basketball has two Oklahoma teams, but I believe it was the Sooners because I believe Oklahoma University or the Sooners, OSC is Oklahoma State. I believe OU are the Sooners. And the halftime report, they're showing all these other game we backed it up a little bit too much to where we see the end of the first half of the game. What I want to point out about college basketball is they are very unique because some conferences in college basketball, I don't know what conference Oklahoma and Tennessee play for, but some conferences do like professional basketball and football because football it's always had a 15-minute um time time clock every quarter of the game. So I started watching it, and I would watch like LSU and things like teams like that. And what really got my attention was how a lot of the games that I enjoyed watching when I started watching college basketball were um were 20-minute intervals. So and when I said that to my sister-in-law asked me that, I told her, I said, I don't know why, but some teams play 4 periods and some play only 2 periods. And it's 12 minutes for four in some college conferences for basketball and some aren't. So I really wanted to know yeah, this is Oklahoma City. So this had to be the Sooners from what I'm understanding. Cause when you would watch, good old JR, Jim Ross, anytime he had to wrestle in the WWE, so I saw him do this on Raw 2 times, and even I saw his first ever match on DVD when he and Jerry Lawler teamed up to go against the Sunday Night Heat commentary team of Al Snow and Jonathan Coachman. And when you watch that, he had the Oklahoma Sooner jersey on or shirt, and along with the pants. And so I just want to mention that because that's why I believe this is the same team he went to college for, which could have been the Sooners. Well, definitely it was the Sooners because when he ended his Hall of Fame speech, he said "Boomer Sooner." So I believe this is the same college he went to. He went to when he went to college, and then when you read his first book, Slobberknocker. I'm sorry, that's how excited I get. But when you read his first book, he said that's actually how he got into the business side of wrestling was by using was by he was in radio because he was always into sports journalism. So even in college, he was into journalism. That's why he's so good at interviewing people in real life. That's what my dad said when we saw the that DVD documentary of the feud between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. That's what he said. He said how good he is at doing interviews like that. And he won a speech contest when he was in college also. So he always he was always good at speaking. And this is SEC, by the way, so SEC must do the 20-minute intervals, and the other conferences must do the regular 12-minute intervals for 4 periods. What I like about these halftime shows is they show the other team, the other game, other highlights from the other games. I don't want to. I don't want to waste my time. By that I mean I don't want to. I don't want to lose the hours of minutes I have to record here. So I was looking to see what they talk about in the halftime show to see if the other the other highlights from the other games. Iowa State against TCU's first game highlights they show. The first highlight they showed was Iowa State scoring, and that score was 32 to TCU's 20. And whoever that was scored 14 points for Ohio State. I think his name's Curtis Jones. So he was definitely, at least in this point of the game, definitely doing their best work for the team. And they were counting down to the game between Kansas State and Kansas and just Kansas. When I say just Kansas, I mean I don't know what they're called. They just put up the name Kansas. Hmm. So whatever Kansas is called is has a purple. It almost looks like a panther. I'm not sure though. But at KU looks like Kansas State University. So I don't know who they're facing, but it looks like they may be going against a team called the Panthers. But regardless of that, Kansas at that time was was number 16, and I don't know if that's a bracket number or what it is. But I still think it's interesting to look back at these games and these highlights. Because if you're like me, where you like to watch basketball, but you're not, you don't like to watch all of it, but you just want to understand what's going on in the want to understand why they do rankings the way they are. That's why I don't mind talking about this with my sister-in-law. Wouldn't have mind talking about with my father either because he let me talk to him about basketball. Now, baseball is something that I really enjoy, but it's not something that I know like basketball. So I really have to study a lot harder on baseball to understand what goes on in college baseball. However, we do have a college team in baseball for LSU. My dad used to watch them all the time, so I'm more familiar with them than any of the college basketball teams they have in Louisiana. However, I believe there's a college basketball team for University of Louisiana in Lafayette. If there is a basketball team there, I would consider watching them on TV if they ever played. In Mississippi at this point, Mississippi State, which I believe, yeah, that was a college my cousin went to. They were like at 22 in the rankings at this time. 21 was Wisconsin. Excuse me. Now they show clips from Oregon against Michigan State. Let's see. This was in the first half. Oregon just scored 46-33 against Michigan State. They show, let's see. Yeah, OSU, all right. Oklahoma State University. So this isn't these aren't the Sooners like I thought. So that's interesting to see. What I do, and I used to do this for my classic wrestling shows also, is I like to look at the end so that I don't miss anything. And let's face it, just like the end of the match in wrestling is the most important thing of the match. The ending of any game is the same way, or it's like the ending of any movie is most important part of the movie. The most important part of the game is the ending because despite what happens in between, eh, what happens at the very end is what we need to focus on because as spectators as well as the people playing it need to focus on that because that's the biggest difference in every athletic endeavor, even if it's in storytelling like wrestling. That's the biggest that's the biggest difference is the finish. Because anything can help or hurt you. That's why you have to look. Let me say that anything can help or hurt the person you want to see win. So that's why you have to care about everything, not just the little things. You have to care about everything, including the end. Most people only care about the end because it's the most important thing, but they don't. A lot of times, people don't consider everything that happens in between. They don't care about the details, just the finish. Tennessee came back really strong. With 35 seconds left, they're beating Oklahoma. It's set by 70 points. Let me state that. Let me restate that. They're beating Oklahoma 70 to 50, so that made they were winning by 20 points. 30 seconds left of the game. Oklahoma's trying to score and missed that score right there. Let's see. Let's see what Tennessee does here. And back and forth with the ball. Somebody just scored it. 52 to 70 now. That was Oklahoma, by the way. I got the names wrong on the jersey. Forgive me. But that was the end of the game. So Tennessee won by 18. No, yeah, 18 points. That's interesting. Yeah, spring training baseball, but gonna look at one of the basketball games. Try to remember all the games I spoke about. Don't remember speaking about any of the basketball games, although I'm sure I did. And I did talk about one of the hockey games. We talk about the Bucks and the Celtics. Celtics were losing by 3 points in the second half. I mean, in the second quarter when I turned it on. And it was 50 seconds left. Boston was down to 5 points. Boston just scored 3 points, so they were losing 51-54. Now I think Milwaukee. I think there was a foul somewhere, so the referee had to blow the whistle. Hmm. They said it was a crossover. That's interesting to see. Now the Milwaukee has the ball. Player just missed a shot at potentially scoring 3 points. Let's see. Boston just scored 2 points. 20 seconds after the second quarter. 10 seconds left. Let's see. Okay, Milwaukee just tried to score. If it was regular score time, I believe on the Bucks might have get a free throw shot because I think a foul may have happened. Yeah, he's doing a free throw, all right. Let's see. There's one shot. He gets it. Okay. 2 seconds left in the first half. Celtics win for it, misses it completely. Okay, they go to halftime. Before I forget, I wanted to announce this on here on StreamYard and on YouTube because it's gonna be added to YouTube later on. I'm gonna start adding some of my favorite videos that I tried putting on YouTube, but they got struck down. I'm gonna start adding myself talking about those videos on Vimeo so that I won't get in trouble with YouTube, and I'll continue doing this for the YouTube video podcast. Another foul happened, the so Milwaukee gets another free throw, gets it. Okay, now they're up 3 points. Oh, I didn't realize, but I fast forwarded to the point I got to the third quarter. Hmm. Even realize I had um you realize I fast forward all the way to the halftime report. Discipline is everything in life, and I'm not not really great with discipline myself, but I know how important it is. So because of knowing how important it is, you see that discipline seems to be a lot of problems with a lot of the professional athletes we see today. I think that's why a lot of times you'll see, even though there's a lot of unnecessary rules that are passed in places like the NFL, at the same time, players ask for it because of lack of discipline they display. Okay, let's see. Boston won by 6 points. Let's see. It's actually a good turnaround for them to come back this strong. Second half is really good. We talk about the Timberwolves going against the Golden State Warriors and what the results were in that game. Minnesota won by about 15 points. Mm, I was not expecting that. I mean, I think every team can win at one. Any team can win. That's a proven fact. But but I thought the Warriors were more had a better defense than that. Let me put it that way. Hockey is a very different sport, as many people who have seen it can say themselves. Anybody that's ever seen a full game and understands what it's about knows how different it can be. How the um the real biggest um goal, or the real biggest struggle in making the goal of winning, is that you don't always know. You don't always know what's gonna work for them. You don't always know when it's gonna be. Trying to think of the right way of saying this. Oh yeah, you don't always know when a statistic is gonna help you or hurt you. You don't always know when what people. I'm talking about for people who like to make quote friendly wagers in games. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about if you own businesses and you make a deal with your friend that if their team wins, you ship you ship some of your products to their store or whatever they do for a living. That's one of the biggest. Um, that's why I don't believe in gambling. That's why I stopped doing advertisements for Bet Online, because I don't agree. I'm against it. But for people who do bet, I would suggest for people, if they feel the need to place a bet, even if it's not for money, even if it's for something innocent, like for instance, like I watched on the original Full House series one year for Halloween. They, to appease their male pride, Jesse, Joey, and Danny all agreed to race each other by the on the track that the people who run in the Olympics run on, and they placed a bet on it, and it was an innocent bet. It was embarrassing to the losers, but it was innocent, and that was, since it's Halloween, the losers had to wear the costumes that the winner chose. And that's what I think about how, even though we should never gamble, if you're going to make a bet, if you're going to risk betting like that, then why not do something innocent where you're not going to lose money? That's how I would look at it. Now, Detroit had more shot attempts in the goal shot attempts in the first half than Tampa Bay did, but every time they had a face off, when the referee had to regain control, that was when Tampa Bay got the advantage in the game because they won most of the face-offs. That's why they outscored Detroit in the first part of the game. Tampa Bay went into the second period, so to speak, 4-2. And I would say, like I mentioned this to my mom earlier this afternoon. When you look at my favorite thing to watch in wrestling or is the tag team scene. Ever since I was a kid, the tag teams were always my favorite um ones to watch. I like wrestling in general, but tag teams were my favorite because I thought it was so interesting to see all these different combination of men team together. And I especially liked how they put together a combination move. That was always my favorite thing to watch. Like Triple H and Shawn Michaels when they reformed DX, and this was toward the end of Shawn Michaels' entering career. And I thought that was perfect. Him using his finisher to how do you say that? To follow into the pedigree, I thought was perfect. Now, usually we're used to people doing things at the same time, but any combination is any two moves can be used to win a match. And that's what I always liked about tag team wrestling. But what I've learned especially as a teenager and adult is the basic and the foundational thing in all of tag team wrestling is to separate the ring in half and to do everything you can to make sure your tag team a partner, your tag team opponent does not make the tag. And that's very similar to how in hockey and football you've got to make sure that nobody's able to score against you. So it's things like that that I think is why people used to think pro wrestling was real, is because they could see a lot of sport like elements in it. My what I always thought was amazing about hockey is how they would have three after the three periods were over, they'd have two overtime, and if you did not if you got tied to lead to an overtime, if you did not break that tie or if it did not stay broken throughout the first overtime, you have another overtime, and if it doesn't stay broken, if you break the tie and it doesn't stay broken in the third in the second overtime, you do a shootout. And that was another thing I was talking to my mom about earlier tonight is how I found a video of our home state's minor league hockey team from the past, known as Ice Gators, and how they want to shoot off once. That's how they won the game. So I told mom, I said, so they followed similar rules to professional hockey. No, rules are very important, and even though there's not a lot of you don't really know rules today in wrestling the way you need to. But what I did think was interesting was I was watching a little bit of national college or NCAA heavyweight heavyweight wrestling, for the champions for this college championship. Within 5 minutes, I could see where they had similar rules to pro wrestling. And obviously, there's a specific move you're not supposed to do, or a certain part you're not supposed to go in the circle. So the referee started counting one, two, just like we see in pro wrestling. So I said, that's interesting. And I was saying this the other day that just like if football has the red zone, hockey has the blue zone. And I had to explain to my mom that what I was trying to say was the blue zone is you can't hit it with your you can't hit it in midair with your hand, but you can use your stick to try to counter it and bring it back to your corner, your side of your side of where your goal is. That things like that I always thought were interesting. By the way, see what the final score is here. The net was empty earlier. Red Wings trying to score. Let's see. It was intercepted, so to speak, by Tampa Bay. No, it's 30 seconds left, so it's hard to see. It's hard to guess who's going to try to score, who's going to be able to score. There are 12 seconds left. Let's see. Hmm. Okay. Nobody got to scores. Tampa Bay won by 3 points. So I would have to say that if I had to guess, I would say that because face-offs happen throughout the game, the longer it goes, the more face-offs are bound to happen. So the Tampa Bay was most likely able to continuously, consistently get the better of the face-offs in the game. So that's probably why they were able to outscore them also. Now, these are spring training games in baseball. It was the Philadelphia Phillies against Detroit Tigers, March 5th of this month, so it's 15 days ago. Then you have the Minnesota Twins against the New York Yankees on March 6th. Because it's a spring training, they don't do things the way that they do in a regular season. Like I remember just looking at this the other day, when I first tried this, and I realized they didn't do halftime or anything like that, like they do in other sports. Because even in basketball and football, they do halftime in preseason. Minnesota, even though this is spring training, their playing was so good. They scored 7 points, and they're able to stop the Yankees from scoring a run, excuse me, or score a home run. It's the best way I could say it. Able to stop them four runs from scoring, 4 innings from scoring, and even at the bottom of the inning, they stopped them from scoring. So their training was doing great, and they even scored an extra ball before the fifth inning. So yeah, even in the fifth inning, Yankees were not doing as well as, even though spring training could still hope to see them play as well as they can. So this is little disappointing if you're a big baseball fan, but if you don't really like spring, if you don't really like preseason, you just watch it to give you an idea of what the season is going to be like, then you probably would want to watch a lot of preseason anyway, or spring training games anyway. Like, I once but twice I saw in this game alone how they had bases loaded, which is expected, but doesn't always happen. Even in regular season games, you don't always see bases loaded that often in one game. What's really amazing to me is I saw Braun Strowman on a Fox station in the middle of a baseball game where he promoted WWE SmackDown's move to Fox at the time. And he said that as he spoke about how not only was his father a great softball player, but he too used to play softball, but he was always a fan of wrestling and he was into the World's Strongest Man competitions. So his real dream was to be in the WWE, and I thought that was interesting to hear. So I'm sure his father was proud of him that his son didn't have to try to ride his coattails. Yeah, right there. Another three bases loaded, because usually it's two bases on and one base holding. So I'm trying to see when the bases are loaded, what team it was that had all three bases covered. Okay, so it's the Yankees. Okay, the Yankees are batting at least. They have 30 seconds left in the pitch clock. As you can see on the side where the audience is, you can see the pitch clock going down. I think they may have been switching out their pitcher for this inning. Yeah, they're bringing in a new pitcher for them. Let's see. Oh, okay. Minnesota trying to stop the Yankees. Bases are loaded. Um, I'm not sure. Okay, Two people did score home runs, so have at least um one base. Okay, two bases are still on. One more, one more home run. They have another score. I don't know why the Yankees have never been able to go. If they win to the World Series, I don't know why they haven't won a championship that I know of anyway. Just that it would be the same thing with the Braves up until the last couple of years. I don't think I ever heard the Braves come close to be even being in the World Series. But I'm glad that I was able to watch baseball before the Braves went to the went that far. What I thought was very interesting, and still is interesting to me, when you watch baseball, is when you see the letter K and that stands for strikeout. At first, I wasn't sure what to think of the pitch clock, but as time went on and as they explained how the pitch clock helped the game AAA in the AAA league, I said, now I understand why they did it. And yeah, it turns out the pitch clock wasn't just a pitch clock, it was all the adjustments to the field they added to the game also that helped it. Yankees won, I think, by 4 points. 4 run. No, Minnesota won by 4 runs. But both teams gave it their all. That's what really matters. Gotta get to the real important part here to this topic, and that is talking about Mid Atlantic. I believe I put the subtitles on. Yeah, knew there was a mistake here when I couldn't see the words come up on the screen. Hmm. Bob Caudle and David Crockett welcoming the audience or the fans to the telecast. Oh yeah, this episode of Mid Atlantic must have just made Ric Flair a babyface the first time because they just made Ric Flair the world champion, and this was in 1981. I remember hearing about this on the Ultimate Ric Flair collection and the Definitive Ric Flair collection, where making Ric Flair the 10 pounds of gold heavyweight champion was a big deal at the time because that was like the most important title you could win. And in those days, unless you were in the unless you were around the NWA, you really didn't know what the 10 pounds of gold was. So even though his first championship title win, because nobody was really familiar with him, they were more familiar with his opponent that night, Dusty Rhodes. So even though it wasn't exciting, it still it still was it was exciting they got to the top, but it was not exciting in the way that you dream of it happening. Fans were not familiar with him, so it was not as big as he was hoping for. And for people who may not have followed the WWE DVD documentaries, pro wrestling in those days, the NWA were a group of wrestling promoters who would vote on who would win the NWA 10 pounds of gold championship to go through all around the territories to defend the title. And Ric Flair did not have a strong vote, but one of the people that voted for him was Vince McMahon Sr., and that showed he had a good eye for talent because he could see how Ric Flair had a combination of both in-ring ability and charisma. And back in those days, those were the key areas to making it. If you could wrestle and talk, you were gonna make it, usually. About 1985 or 86, that's when everything started to change. So when he brought in, when they brought in Arn Anderson to join Ole Anderson and Ric Flair, and then later on Tully Blanchard, that was when things were getting to be more about marketing and everything. So that's why you never saw Arn Anderson with the world title reign. It's not for lack of drawing, not for lack of ability in wrestling. He was one of the best wrestlers and one of the best promo men. It was the lack of they just didn't know how to market him, which was crazy to think of because he had the perfect name, Double A. That's perfect. What's not marketable about that? Bad Leroy Brown was in here. I had no idea he was in Mid Atlantic. That's interesting. They're even gonna have Austin Idol wrestling here, and Austin Idol was actually a mainstay, I believe, in Tennessee territory. Used to team up with Jerry Lawler a lot. Jake Roberts and um, Brickhouse Brown, I believe. Jake Roberts' entire dialogue here was to let Ole Anderson know that if he really wants to stick his nose in his business, it's not, he better not forget that Bad News Brown is around. Because, Ole Anderson was, let's say it like this, he was a bully. On screen, he was a bully. So, you have somebody bigger than you, that's what a bully needs. Somebody bigger and stronger. Come around, they usually back off. If they don't back off, they find out they should, usually. He said bad news Brown's no bad no Brickhouse Brown said that only the strong survive there. So if it's rough, then that's fine with him because he wants to show how mentally and emotionally tough he is. as well as physically tough. Mhm. He ended this by saying that anytime he gets his hands on Ole Anderson, he's gonna have a lot of dues to pay. The first match here was Austin Idol. By the way, he looks exactly the same now. I saw him in the NWA as a color commentator a few years ago, and he looks older, but he looks the same at the same time. He goes against somebody from England called Scott McGee. It was a 10-minute time limit. I always loved the time limit matches because it made you wonder how the matches are going to end. When they threw the time limit out the window, that really killed the business a lot because there was no more psychology. I'm going to pause it right here so I can go get a plug. All right. I don't know if this is something y'all are interested in hearing right now, but I thought I would share this just because I like to share some, because I like to encourage people. One of the ways that I read to prepare to train to be a manager is to respond to what you see, which is that's actually not bad to do because the reason why managers for so many years were so popular, they not only could speak very well, but they responded the right way. And if they cared as much as they acted on the screen, it was not an act, it was true to life. That's why things like that, elements like that, are so important. So this is what I would do. Like, lock up by these two. Scott McGee was pushed away by Austin Idol, but all he did is go against the ropes. So I would do like this. Let's say that I was gonna take a young person like somebody like a Scott McGee today. On TV, I would want to speak for him and ask and just really let the audience know what he's about. First thing I would do is say, "Come on, take him down. God, show him, show him why he shouldn't be so cocky." I would do things. I would say that I would pretend doing that while I'm watching these old videos, or I would pretend doing that while watching the current stuff. That's what I would consider doing. Because I know that if I get excited about this, and I've been wanting to do this since I've been a kid, then people who may just now be thinking about doing it, I'm sure a lot of people would be excited to hear how to prepare. Now, nothing technically prepares us for that, but any way to get into the mind of knowing what to knowing how to speak and carry yourself doesn't doesn't hurt, especially if you can't do the physical stuff. It really does help you to prepare to how to present yourself. So responding to what's going on TV, think about how to respond to that. Think about how you would want to approach someone because business is slowly going back to the territory days, modern day territory days. So it'd be a really good idea to think of the different ways you can prepare yourself. Scott McGee was doing pretty good right here. He's almost got a hammerlock on Austin Idol. Got it cinched in right here, pretty much. So Austin Idol, the consummate heel, goes in between the ropes to force a break, clean break. Let's see. Hammerlock by Austin. Turned on it, reversed, put it on one by Scott McGee again. Again, Austin gets in between the ropes to force a break. Let's see. This time a waist lock. Transition. That was the word I wanted to use earlier. Transitioned. Transitioned into a full Nelson by Austin. This would be another thing I would suggest doing because that's how I feel when I watch this kind of maneuver being put on someone. Gets back into the ring, clean break, goes on the far side of the ring to ensure that Austin doesn't cheap shot him. Lock up, let's see. Single leg takedown. This was good good transition by Scott McGee. He's working on the left knee of Austin with that elbow. Okay, he's getting out of this, doing the rear chin lock. Gets into the ropes though, does Austin. It almost looks like he was doing that purposely to embarrass Scott. So let's see what happens next. Okay. This time he trips him, go for the leg, but Scott goes, no. Austin turned it around on him. Mistake, though, because Scott goes right back to that knee. It was like a cheap shot of sorts. I'm not sure if it was a right hand or a thrust against the face. They go for a scoop slam, gets it perfectly done. Just hit him in the gut with the right hand, but Scott comes back with the right hand too. Just sits. Come on, Scott. Come on. That's what I would do. That's what I would suggest doing. Practicing like that when you watch an old show, or even when you're watching a new show. I would practice as if I'm talking for someone and representing someone. So an idol just hit him with the right hand. We threw him through the middle rope outside. So McGee gonna stay on the floor for about a minute or two to convince the audience this is that he's in bad shape here. Ooh, headbutt through the middle rope by Austin to Scott. Let's see. Brings it back in like a thrust into the face. Duck into a atomic drop but it had no effect on Austin. Let's see. So went for the belly to back suplex. Goes for the figure four. Okay. It's probably going to end it right there. Yeah. Free call for the bell. Let's see. See the way he was applying this figure four. It's no wonder people don't understand what it means to sell anymore. People are not willing to, to turn their bodies like this against their opponent when they put the figure four. They're not willing to make it look like they're almost hurting them. What I mean by that is, I do not condone hurting people on purpose. Some people are too afraid to offend someone, and that's just verbally speaking. So you're going to be afraid to offend someone with your speech. You're afraid to do anything that goes beyond a boundary. And and if you're not willing to go as far as you can, you're not really doing yourself any favors. You're not doing your opponents any favors, and the audience is not going to like what you're doing. There's a reason why they said in the Hall of Fame video for the Four Horsemen, they they loved to the fans loved to hate him, but they had to respect them. That's why they say that. The fans did just about anything, or the Horsemen did just about anything you could think of to make themselves believable to the audience. That's what the fans want to see. The fans want to believe that what they're seeing is plausible, at least. That's why Roman Reigns as the tribal chief has worked. Because you can see that even though he's not like that in real life, you could see that he believes what he's saying. You could see he really believes he's the tribal chief. Next match is for the Mid Atlantic TV title. Ron Bass defending the title. Okay, I thought that was a Fargo. That must be Jackie's older brother. That's Sonny Fargo, and he looks just like Jackie. Of course, it could have been Jackie Fargo's dad, also, for all I know. Exactly 21 years after this, almost exactly 21 years. Um, a few months before it made 21 years, Jackie Fargo, along with all these other NWA legends, came to TNA to introduce TNA as a product. And Jackie Fargo looked then exactly how Sonny looks here. That's why I think it might be his dad. Ron Bass got armbar on his opponent, Jim Nelson. Excuse me. Just did an arm drag to make sure that he wouldn't lose the grip or the what do you call the advantage in this match. He did a clean break when his opponent um got in the ropes. Jim Nelson, I believe, yeah. He broke the hold and Nelson got in the ropes. Clean break. Lock up. going for a version of an armbar himself, but Ron Bass is like almost 3 times bigger than Nelson. This is a mistake right here for Nelson to try this. Gets out of it into a hammerlock, the goes the cowboy Ron, and Murloc. They go back and forth with this. In between the ropes again to break this up. Does Nelson lock up wrist lock by Ron? He tightens it, make him go down to his knees. Goes down into hammerlock, knee drop into the hammerlock. Okay, another knee drop. Let's see. Okay, Jim got him to let go of the hammerlock because he was hitting Ron in the left knee with his fist. So Ron got tired and he started hitting him with one right after the other. So that let go of the hammerlock right away because he needed both hands to go for at least the right hand. hmm Let's see, a lock up. Let's see, side headlock by Jim Nelson. Let's see what Ron does next. Belly to back suplex. Gets up to his feet. See what he does with Nelson now. Forearm into the back. Irish whip. Back body drop. Ooh. I have a back problem myself, so that makes me hurt just watching it. Goes for the abdominal stretch. Now, ordinarily, I would say to do that because of practicing, but that wasn't me practicing. That's literally how I feel when I see somebody land on their back like that. When it's hard like that, I imagine the pain because of the pain I go through in my back. Let's see if Jim gets out of this abdominal stretch. Yeah, somehow he managed to get out of it, almost like a hip toss like maneuver. They, s- he still fell down though, saying that selling the back pain. Let's see, right hand by Ron Bass into a side headlock, tightens it a couple of times. Let's see. Okay, there's a right hand and a forearm close to an elbow. Forearm into the chest of Bass. Let's see, he gets him in the corner. Forearm over the back of the neck of Bass. Does Nelson. I think he's biting him in the forehead. Even did an eye rake, it looked like. I think that was a right hand into the forehead. That was looked like a forearm. Now, to my knowledge, forearm is not illegal in wrestling, and it's not illegal or um unfair because it's just supposed to be fighting. See, he's got him in a front face lock, so this will be interesting to see how Ron comes back from this. Into the gut a couple of times goes Nelson, hits him with the forearm over the back of the neck. You can see that's getting Bass fired up. forearm, a couple of times across the chest. That doesn't slow down on. He's getting madder and madder. Right hand. Right hand. Ooh, knocks him down. Yeah, this coming, Nelson. See, could be going for vertical suplex. Gets it. Okay. Looks like going for the Oklahoma Stampede. Hooks the leg. 2, 3. Turns out that the Oklahoma Stampede, that legendary wrestling and promoter, legendary wrestler and promoter Cowboy Bill Watts created or made famous. I don't know if he created it, but he made famous. Is a running scoop slam, and that is the maneuver that Bass used right here. They have a tape match here from Sergeant Slaughter against Frank Monty. They say how rough Sergeant Slaughter is right here. And let's see just how rough he could be. Just took off what looks like to be a belt from the Marines to hand it along with his hat and his sunglasses, I think. See, Frank Monty, smaller man here. Let's see. Side, no, waist lock. But even though it gets pulled down, almost like a arm drag to get out of it, he reverses, then he keeps on the waist lock until Frank gets into the rope, so he had to let go. He goes into that arm bar. Instead of it being on the side like that, he has it like that. And I always wondered what they called this. When I heard somebody say armbar, I said, "Oh, that's a perfect way to say it, because that would be like an armbar." So that's a variation of an armbar, to be honest about it. He trips him to keep him down right here. Trying to get him into the ropes. Once he gets him out of the ropes, and even though he gets him at that arm drag, doesn't slow down Slaughter. The only thing that got Slaughter to break his hold is that head scissors that he put him in. Bucket right there, turns around. Slaughter turns around and into a hammerlock and transitions that into hip toss and a knee drop. 1, 2, kick out by Monty. Looks like he's going for a hammerlock. No, an arm bar this time, where you just pick up the arm. He goes for that wrist lock. He just jumps to get out of it, and he kicks Slaughter, and Slaughter goes into the corner, lockup, forearm over the left arm of Monty. Ooh, that time was across the left bicep of Monty, then forearm over the chest of Slaughter. Let's see. Forehead into the turnbuckle pad goes Monty, then snapmare takedown. He puts his knee into the back of the neck of Monty. Ooh. Puts his forehead into the turnbuckle pad. But right there, I couldn't tell if he put him into it with his forehead, or if or if he hit his forearm, and he does, or if he hit the turnbuckle pad with his bicep, and Frank just fell. That can't tell. But anyway, just the backbreaker cover to kick out by Monty. Hmm. The WWE used to use that Cobra Clutch submission that I think Ted DiBiase Sr. used to use the same finisher as called the $1 Million Dream. So I wonder what he used right here as a finisher. Forearm by Sergeant Slaughter. He throws Monty outside through the middle ropes, that is. And this was 1981, like I said earlier. So this was the first time, this was when they still had mats removed. So anytime you threw somebody through the middle rope, they would fall on concrete. It feels like he's gonna jump from the top rope outside to Monty, but the referee stops him. Okay, let's see what Frank does here. Pulls Frank in, goop slam. Let's see. Covers him, hooks leg to kick out by Frank. Ooh, elbow into the small of the back, I believe that's what it's called, where the kidneys are located. A couple of times he does that, then an Irish whip, back body drop. Ooh, knee, knee drop to kick out by Monty. Let's see. Irish whip, clothesline, takes down Monty. Surprised Monty's still moving around after that. Yeah, he still had the Cobra Clutch right here as a finish. That's what he's using right here. One, two. After the arming down the second time, referee Tommy Young knew he couldn't continue, so he called for the bell. Yeah, rough is an understatement. If he was to wrestle this style today, they'd be calling for him to get arrested. Here's Scott McGee. Um, he's still in his gear and in his coat. Let's see what he has to say. Telling Scott he thought he fought one heck of a match against Austin Idol. See what he says right here. They said he is the leading challenger for the junior heavyweight championship. He said you can see why. Let's see what Scott says right here. He said, "Thank you very much, Austin Idol, a very prestigious figure here in wrestling. Deserves a lot of respect for the position that he has. Has acquired since he's been wrestling," he said, talking about Austin Idol's position. Said, but every time he steps in the ring, he has everything to lose. For myself, when I step in the ring, he says, okay, I have to hear that because they couldn't put words on the on closed captioning. He has everything to lose. For myself, when I step in the ring, I have everything to gain, especially if I was to beat an opponent of the class. I couldn't understand him either. He has everything to lose. For myself, when I step in the ring, I have everything to gain. He said he has everything to gain when he steps in the ring. To beat an opponent of the class of Austin Idol. You said especially he has everything to gain, especially when he faces somebody the caliber of Austin Idol. Well, Scott,
You haven't been out here with us quite that much. I'd like to know how did you get to the top? Let's say because you're one of the top challengers for the junior heavyweight championship.
He's now as David's asking how he got to the position he's in to be a top challenger for the
What led
junior heavyweight title.
to get there? Well, first, I had a very good amateur background. I started wrestling.
He said he has a good amateur background. He started when he was 12 years old being an amateur wrestler with his father, I think he said. It started getting static. It's starting to get staticky, so I'm gonna restart the TV. Let's see. Okay.
He said you're never going to be a giant of a man. He said the best thing you can do is learn the right way and technique and learn how to wrestle. And plus,
He said what his stepfather taught him the most was to be a bigger giant, or in other words, have a bigger heart, have the biggest heart in the fight.
to
And I'd have to hear that again to make sure I'm saying that right.
he said you're never going to be a giant of a man. He said the best thing you can do.
Oh, you're never going to be a giant. That's what he said. Best thing you can do is learn the technique
Learn how to wrestle.
and learn how to out wrestle people.
Plus, I had the opportunity to be around a lot of great wrestlers such as Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat before I started fresh wrestling myself.
Hmm. He said that before he had a match in the ring, he was around great competitors in the ring like Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat.
Right.
So that helped him too.
Who would you like to wrestle? I'm not talking about the junior heavyweight champion wrestling, but who else? Well, everybody would like to be a heavyweight champion, of course. A good friend of mine, Ric Flair, is now a heavyweight champion of the world. And of course, I would like to match against him in the future, maybe down the road, a couple of years, but eventually I would like to wrestle him. Plus, Ole Anderson, Gene Anderson, the Russians, it'd great for my record if I could wrestle wrestlers of that caliber. And if I could get a victory, it'd really help me.
Of all the wrestlers he could face, he said, outside of facing Ric Flair in a couple of years, he said, because he had a feeling he wasn't ready for that yet. He said in the future he would also like to face people like Gene Anderson, no, Ole Anderson, or the Russians, which back in those days was a big deal because a lot of the bigger men in those days had a lot of skill and had a lot of technique. So it really helped you out a lot if you had amateur wrestling and if you were able to face them and pull off a victory, it meant a lot.
Part of the leg is that the pressure on? Well, it's usually right above the knee. Plus, if the person along the leg, it's going to be through the leg. The person in my height, it's right above the knee. And plus, there's not much muscle around the knee, and that's really where all the pressure is. Thank you very much. Dougie's $6 meal deal.
Okay, they have advertisements. So next match, I'm not really sure if this is the first time I'm seeing this episode. Okay, next match is the grappler. Let's see who his opponent is. Oh, Super Destroyer was his tag team partner, so it looks like a tag team match. Irish Whip comes back and does his opponent with a shoulder block over the back. He hits Grappler in the forehead with the boot. Gets tags himself out to the Masked Superstar, who I believe is Demolition Smash, I believe. Or is he Axe? I'm trying to remember which one is which. Misses that forearm. So the legal opponent hits him with a couple of arm drags. Three, to be exact, tags out to the grappler who falls right into another arm drag. Weaver, Johnny Weaver, I believe. Okay, Irish whip out of there. They do a crisscross. You still have to see this. He tags out to tag partner Richie, goes in there with an arm drag of his own to almost like an arm bar and a wrist lock. Let's see. What does the grappler do here? Wrist lock again. Scoop slam. Misses that elbow drop though. Tags out to the mass superstar arm drag. Let's see. Richie. Richie does a knee drop over his look like to be his tricep area of his arm. See, he's begging off another super destroyer. Wrist lock by Richie. Another wrist lock. Let's see. Irish whip. Hip toss by the mass superstar. Misses that knee drop though. Tags out right away to the grappler, who's smart enough to back up into the corner like that. Let's see. Lock up. Headlock into a hammerlock tags in. I forgot his name. Johnny Weaver. There's a couple of knee drops into the form into the. I guess that's the. I guess that would be the tricep and the rotator cuff area of his arm. The grappler is up to his feet. He's looking for a way out of this. Pulling him by his hair. The referee can't see it. At least I don't think he could see it. He did a clean. He pretended to do a clean braid. Then he did a knee into the gut, Irish whip to Weaver. Weaver moves out of the way, and he hits. That superstar hits his already injured elbow across the ropes. He gets hit a couple of times with rights by Richie. Hits him with an elbow a couple of times. Tags in Johnny Weaver, kicks him right where the tricep area is. Irish whip. Ooh, shoulder block takedown. Runs into an elbow from the Masked Superstar's good arm. He tags out to no, that was a grappler tagging out the Masked Superstar. Goes in there with release arm into a release arm drag into another arm drag that's followed up by an arm bar. So Johnny Weaver's doing a really good job, although because of the size difference, all it takes is a grab of the neck by Superstar to slow this down a little bit. Forearm, actually an elbow. Go 3 times into the corner, Irish whip, reversal by Weaver. Ooh, hits his rotator cuff across the top of the turnbuckle pad. Ooh, it really hurts. It's gotta hurt. Tags out to Richie, comes off the top rope, the diving axe handle. Let's go as he falls. He tags out till the grappler goes in there, gets met with a wrist lock. Right away, he tags back in. Johnny Weaver goes for that armbar now on the grappler. The Irish whip coming up. Ooh, knee into the gut of Weaver. The atomic drop. Ooh, he goes right into the top turnbuckle pad with his forehead, does Weaver. Gets hit with a couple of kicks across his rotator cuff, and then the Mad Superstar gets tagged in. See what the Superstar does here. Gutbuster. Cross the knee to kick out. Let's see. See. It's almost like half of I believe it's what Eddie Guerrero's father, Gory Guerrero, and the Sheik Iron Sheik made famous. Half of it is like the camel clutch. It's half of a camel clutch, except the arms aren't across his knees. He's pulling back on his chin like the camel clutch does. Gets out of it by throwing him over his forehead, but over his entire body. Tags out to the grappler, but fortunately Richie tags out to no Weaver tags out to Richie. Hits with several rights, knocks down the grappler. Now they're now they're both going after both men. It looks like Fargo's gonna lose control of this match. Well, actually, yeah, he's starting to get Weaver out of the ring. Behind his back, the Masked Superstar is gonna hit Richie with a knee into the back. Double Irish whip by both men. Double clothesline. Raw arm over the back of Richie. McGee just knocks down. Grappler. I think that's a mistake. He could get them disqualified. And then, because of that, because of him not being there when his partner needed him, partner gets hit with a superplex by the Masked Superstar. Hooks leg 2, 3. They lose the match, but I think the referee lost control of that match because I don't think the Superstar was the legal man. Okay. Take a 45-second commercial starting with Bayer aspirin, but I don't know why, but they're closing their eyes, most of these people. Hmm. So they're talking about their thing. The whole thing was what it actually made me think of my biggest struggle in life. That's avoiding things. I am a chronic avoider of anything that I don't like. So when I saw that, how it looked like people were avoiding looking at their possibilities of having a heart attack, and at the end, they were this lady was showing the Bayer aspirin app to this man, and that's when he stopped covering his eyes. You know, we don't realize, but that's what we're figuratively doing when we avoid. We're covering our eyes so we won't face something. In the middle of that match just now, Jake Roberts came out, and to a degree, I understand what the grappler was saying. If he didn't have a reason to be out there, he shouldn't have been out there. He said he doesn't have a contract to wrestle us, but I want to tell you something, Jake Roberts. We made a big mistake interfering in our matches because right now you are a marked man by us. Worked too long, too hard to let a punk like you come out here and interfere in our matches. Better be wary, Jake Roberts. And behind him is Austin Idol. Said, let me tell you something. Do they know who I am? Right behind Bob Cuddle looks like Ole Anderson. And he said, Don, a lot of people are telling me, said, we know, Austin Idol, you've got some kind of master plan in your mind and you've got something devised. Said, we know that pretty soon you're going to drop the bomb on somebody. We know that it's a fact because we saw you running roughshod over everybody in Atlanta and Georgia for a year and a half without defeating anybody. And we know that something is scheming in your mind, he said. They said to him. Said, Don, believe me, whatever's going on in this brain, it's my business. It's none of your business. It's none of your business out there. It's totally my business. But first of all, one quick thing. Worms, did he say cockles? He said, one quick thing. Warms the cockles of my heart to know that Ric Flair is now the world champion. Because now finally, sooner or later, it didn't happen in the past, but finally, it's gonna come down to you and me, Flair. They got the belt. You got the belt, Jack. Now that's gonna be enough. And motivation for Austin Idol to slap that Las Vegas leg lock on you. Then Ole's brought in here to be asked about Ric Flair. That I'm gonna pain you in your heart. That I'll tell you what, Ric Flair, he's got the belt. He's a champion right now, but it won't be very much longer. When he gets a chance, or I get a chance, that he's dumb enough to get in the ring. If he's dumb enough to get in the ring with me, that belt will be lifted right off his waist and put around my waist. Think's what he said. He said, put right around mine. Meantime, I'll look people out here like Mr. Jake Roberts and Ron Best, the television champion, Leroy Brown, bad. Well, I thought they called him Brickhouse Brown, so that's why I'm confused about that. But oh, big man, yeah. Only one big bad person around, and you're looking at him right here. Said, young blood, in a few minutes, you are gonna find out how bad I am. Bad News Brown or Brickhouse Brown, I believe he was Brickhouse Brown, and Jake Roberts go against the young two men right here, Ricky Harris and at 260 pounds. Oh, he is 260. Mike Miller is his partner, and he looks like he's about 230 pounds. Jake Roberts was about 242 pounds. And at this point, he was billed from Texas. Bad Leroy Brown is from Chicago, Illinois, and he weighed 320 pounds. So the 10-minute time limit match. Looks like they're going to do another advertisement before this match gets underway. Starts the match right here, Jake and Ricky. Double leg takedown by Jake. Tags tags out to Badly Roy Brown. I think that was a splash over the left knee of Harris. Tags out to his partner. It's hard to remember Harris's partner's name. Miller. Okay. Then he goes for a single leg takedown and hits an elbow on Miller. Does Leroy. Let's see. Tags in Jake. Double legs. Double leg drop over the leg of Miller. Miller goes under the rope to break it. That doesn't stop Jake, though he pulls him away from the ropes and he lets go. Tags out to Harris. Harris goes straight in with that. Lock up with Jake Roberts. Okay. To the corner, Irish whip. Runs over the back of Harris. Ooh, right hand knocks down Harris. Okay, tag to Jake Roberts. To Brown, excuse me. Elbow to the face of Harris knocks him down. Tags out to Miller into the almost like the corner, but it's really the ropes. Right hand, but ooh, big time right hand from Brown. Irish whip, elbow knocks him down. Does Miller go straight down? Tags in Jake. Irish whip, I'm not sure if that was a kick or a knee to the gut of Miller. Yeah, it was a kick to the gut of Miller, knocks him down. Scoop slam, delayed scoop slam is what it looks like. Gets it. Okay, knee drop. Okay, cover. One, kick out. After one count. Goes for a headlock and he tags back in Brown. Right hand into the face of Miller. Knocks him down. Let's see. Scoop slam. Big time scoop slam. A kick to the, looks like the, close to the sternum of Miller. Headbutt by Brown. Looks like he may be going for like a front face submission here. Tags in Jake. So I Jake this here. Right hand. Couple of times. Knocks down Miller. Ooh, knocks down Harris. Left hand, three, four. Then the fifth one was a right hand. Irish whip. Back body drop. Snapmare cover. Kick out by Miller. Let's see. A face lock tags back in Leroy. Let's see what Leroy does here. Mhm. Looks like they're promoting US heavyweight title tournament here, and I'm big on tournaments. I always loved the tournament format ever since I was a kid. Used to love to see the tournament brackets, not just in wrestling, but also in football too. I think that was always when I started watching sports. I always loved seeing the tournament bracket. Kicking the gut of Brown, then a forearm a couple of times over the back of Brown. Miller tags back in Ricky Harris, who kicks Brown in the gut. Goes for a forearm. Another one, then a left and a right. But it's just firing up Leroy. Hits him with the right hand. He should have been expecting that. Puts him in his corner, tags back in Jake. Irish whip, kick into the gut. Then that knee lift, tags back in Miller. Irish whip, back body drop to Miller. Let's see. Then that knee lift and he tags in Brown. Runs across, splash. One, two, three. Okay, it looks like this. Okay, this Jim Nelson, who also wrestled earlier in the night. He's wearing his tights and his coat. Let's see what he has to say. Ricky Harris interrupting this, though, along with Miller. Let's see what they say here. Okay, he's going to let them catch their win first. Let's see what Jim Nelson says.
The championship match too. You almost had it. But the NWA television time. Well, next time it's going to be different. How did this give me?
He claimed that he almost won the title, and the next time he will win the TV title.
That's all I want. All right, really. So in other words, you're not finished with. You're ready for another one. Now anytime, any place, it doesn't matter to me. Did that running slam knock the wind out of you? Yes. A big 300-pound man jump on you, you're gonna be stuck in there too. Yeah, he was telling. He's a big, strong man. 300 pounds. That's how much you weigh. Okay. You all right?
Do what they say.
How many times do we got to go through this? I'll never know how. Two man on one. I'll never understand that. I don't understand it whatsoever. Wait a minute. You got so much in there? No. When he got 10, there was only one man on top of him. Oh, yeah. It was three.
Harris claimed there's two men on top of him, and David just pointed out there was only one man pinning him. And he came in, he had no business coming in, and got hit by Jake at the end of the match. That was to protect Leroy.
You say all you want to. It probably felt like three. There's only one. You're talking about 300 pounds? How much that big geek weigh? He's walking. All right. I'm so sick and fed up with it.
Ricky Harris called Leroy Brown a geek. I wouldn't want to call somebody that big a geek. We're on big men. That's the one. That was one scary dude. Wasn't for that smile he had, he would have been a monster.
I'm gonna counter that one of these days. I'm gonna counter it. You gonna counter that? Yes.
He claimed he's going to find a counter to that running splash by Leroy Brown, I believe is what he's referring to.
Learn a lot of counters in this business. I'm gonna counter that one of these days. Big geek way. He's walking. All right. I'm so sick and fed up with it. Learn a lot of counters in this business. I'm gonna counter that one of these days. I'm gonna counter it. You're gonna counter that? Yes. Yes. It'll be right here for you to say, baby. Please, you will. Hey, I'm gonna show you too. It won't be long either. I believe that. How can you counter a splash when that 300 plus pounds comes right down? Wherever there's a will, there's a way. Hey, the only will I can see is the will to let that people are coming in. My partner's hurt. I don't know what. It's supposed to be certain ways, right? You win, you lose. There's certain ways that you can win and still have some dignity. I know you tried to do it certain ways. Did you? Did you try? That's right. I'm going to continue trying. I'm going to continue trying. You bet. In the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3, baby. One of these days, we will. Anytime, brother. Any place, me right there. Foul! Jimmy, hey, I was eating that.
No way, Dad. You're eating the new Jimmy John's Toasted Ultimate Italian with melted provolone, slices of onions, and warm French bread. Indulge, King. Nah, girl, that is not your lunch. Listen.
I think these are interesting. These new Jimmy John's commercials are interesting. They recently did a basketball one that they were airing right here. This man was almost becoming just like that man with an unofficial spokesman for Wendy's. It's like they're using that idea for Jimmy John's now. I think that's interesting. Okay. This is Jay Youngblood and Ole Anderson in the main event. Lockup. Ole. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. It's like a takedown. I'm not sure. Jay Youngblood got out of it. And it looks like he's surprising Ole. He gets out of it almost like hammerlock. Turns it into a waist lock right here. Okay, backs off after he gets in the corner. Let's see. So what Ole does here with this lockup on Jay. Hits with a couple of right hands and even a chop. Knocks him down, though. Knock up. Hmm. Was like a trip right there. Circling over the left arm at the moment. Wrist lock by Jay. Forearm over the chest of Youngblood. Let's see. Throws him through the middle rope. Side on the concrete floor. Somebody is in their tights by David and Bob, but I don't know who it is. They're so very good at keeping the context, so it could have been somebody feuding with Ole Anderson at the time. Okay, it was the Masked Superstar. Don't know why he was throwing Jay Youngblood in there. He didn't need to do that. Puts his foot into the corner. Turnbuckle pad to Zoli. Right hand. Okay. Forearm. Okay. Chop. Chop. Three chops. Four chops against the chest of Oli. Oli hits him in the stomach with a knee. See. In the middle of the ring, it's that throwing scoop slam and that elbow cover to kick out. Forearm over the back of the neck, I believe, then a chop by Youngblood. 2, 3 chops. Now Oli's begging off. Gets back in the corner though with him in a forearm over the back of Jay. Snapmare takedown by Oli into what looks like to be almost like a rear chin lock of sorts. Gets to their feet though. Arm drags out of it, does Jay, and then that drop kick. Gets him down, then another drop kick. Let's see. Cover, 2, kick out. This is going to cause a disqualification right here by the grappler and Oli. Double team like this. Sonny Fargo's thrown down by Oli. Okay, thankfully, in comes Ron Bass, in comes Jake Roberts. Check on Jay. Okay. And have to go out there after him. Out comes running Leroy Brown. He's got that hardware hat on. This is a good match, though. That interference, though, all it does is just build anticipation for the next outing, for the next show. Okay, these three men are here to talk. Roberts, Ron Bass, and Brown. Bass said they were sick and tired of being of there being 2-on-3 situations. They were not now we're gonna be watching each other's back. I understand, Piper, and he even mentioned the Super Destroyer and Anderson, I believe. Yeah, Piper the Grappler, Super Destroyer. You think you're gonna have a playtime, son? It's over because we're back together. We're gonna stay together from now on. What about you, Jake? He said the cavalry is coming down nasty. I don't like. I'm just heading my own way. Said that's to stop you. Whatever I need to do, man. I've had it. Said it sort of fit right in with you, Leroy. We got to fight fire with fire, he said. That's right. I'm the fireman around here. Said my man here said time is changing, baby. Then Jay said something here. He said, "Let me say something, Anderson. That's the way you want to play, brother. Go and fight my friend Bass. I have Bass. I have Snake. I have Leroy Brown. Time gonna step in the ring with us. Gonna be here waiting for y'all." They said that's all for this week. See you next week. Goodbye. So when you see shows like that, it's easy to see why, because this was just one territory. If you watched or saw Mid South in conjunction with Houston wrestling, if you saw Georgia wrestling, if you grew up in Georgia during that time and you watched wrestling, then you could see why it was so much fun to watch because of the believability of it. You didn't feel like you were watching a soap opera. You felt like you were watching a sport. so that's so. The next episode is uh, is from October 17th, 1981, and it's gonna be a little bit different. Right. Thank you, and I don't know what the bottom line is here. Yeah. Oh, by the time this episode happened, they already had the U.S. title tournament, and it was Sergeant Slaughter who won the title. So we get to see him face off against Frank Monte, who he had been facing last two times he was on Mid Atlantic TV. So that's gonna be interesting to see in the next episode. Thank you and goodbye.